You have something here on the screen. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Broward the Spiritist Society. We're going to start with a prayer. So let's connect with our divinity, with God the Creator, with our mentors, spiritual mentors. First of all, thanking them for this beautiful day. Thank you for all of the blessings in our lives, and also for all of the challenges that help us grow and evolve in this planet, that we may continue our journey, illuminating and enlightening our path even more. So be it. Well, starting with a prayer, and we're talking about religiosity as an integral part of our essential being. So for religion or religiosity to exist, there must be a connection with a divine being, with a deity, with God, as we call, with the universe. So there's got to be something outside of us to be connected with. So, and that could be God, like I said. Different religions connect us, and we can connect ourselves with them. So, and we could then begin by remembering the first question that Kardec asked the spirits in the Spirits book, which is, what is God? And then the spirits answer saying, God is the supreme being, the first cause of all things. So Kardec didn't ask who is God, but what is God? So, and that being said, we could ask ourselves then, how do I perceive God? How do I feel God? What is the meaning of God in my life? So how does religion bind us to God? What about the rituals that we follow? So those are questions that we can ask ourselves to clarify this relationship with this being that we call God. And up to a certain point in history, people were afraid of God. Religions were created, and everything had a fear base. Then at one point, Nietzsche started to break this connection between humanity and the divine. And he said, God is the creation of human consciousness, meaning that God didn't exist. It was just the creation of our minds. So he initiated this connection with divinity. And we have felt that, and science has completely disconnected confront spirituality because of all of the atrocities that many religions throughout the world have committed. However, it is time to awaken and get to know what is true, what is not true. Francis Collins, he's the director of the National Institute of Health in Maryland, and he said, the God of the Bible is also the God of the genome. He can be worshipped in the cathedral or the laboratory. So he's saying that there is no incompatibility between science and religion. However, we see a very materialistic science on one side and religion on the other side. When these two merge, there will be much more progress in our society. Joana de Angelis, the mentor of Divaldo Franco, says, examine the structure of a molecule and its goal, especially in the face of DNA, a recent investigation by science, which only gradually penetrates into the constitutive essence of form in animal life, and the inquiry itself responds syllogistically, leading the inquirer to the essential cause of everything, God. So in 1973, she brought this message, saying that in the DNA was the answer that we are looking for the existence of God. Jung says that the psyche is religious. It seeks religiosity. So religion is an important function for the development of the human being. When the psyche begins the process of self-discovery, it needs to re-elaborate the relationship with God. And we see that when we start to think about why we are here, why do we exist, what's my purpose on earth, we see that we start reconnecting with God. And why is that? The psyche is religious. So we have this within us. Our relationship with God also dictates our psyche, our relationship with our psyche. Okay? So this man has a natural tendency, a natural need to understand himself. And when he does, he finds God. Dean Hammer, a geneticist that works at the National Cancer Institute, and he talks about the God gene, how faith is hardwired in our genes. And the idea came from a study on smoking and addiction. So he said that faith is hardwired to our genes, just like Jung said that the psyche seeks for religiosity. And once we find that, we find God. And then we have here the research. How did that come to exist, the God gene? What was the idea of it? Okay. Does our DNA compel us to seek a higher power? Believe it or not, some scientists say yes. So that intuition, that desire, that force that drives us to search for ourselves and the meaning of our lives ends up with the discovery of a higher being. So, Higgs boson, who is a physician, proposed the existence of this particle, which today is called the boson Higgs. So his name was Peter Higgs. Okay, so he says this is the physical proof of an invisible universe-wide field that gave mass to all matter right after the Big Bang. And so science proves God. So what else do we have to do? So the relationship of man to God is not only psychic, but it's in the DNA. That's what they are saying. The boson of Higgs, which is the proposed particle that the scientists brought, tells us, yes, God exists. So what do we do now that we know that God exists? Okay, and that he can be identified in our DNA, like Joanna de Angelis said in 1973. And then they came later and said the same thing. So if we look at the primitive people, they had no revelations, but they believed in the existence of superhuman power. So they didn't know, they didn't exactly call God or divinity, but they believed in the power of the thunder. They believed in the God of sun, in the God of moon, in the God of the oceans. So they had this thing with them that was telling them that there is something superhuman out there, that there is something bigger than us. Then Moses came and said that God is punitive. And a lot of religions were created from that. God is revengeful, God is punitive, you can't do that because you're gonna get that. And then Jesus comes and says, God is love, and you should love one another. So if we look at that, we see that from the beginning we have that within us. And then the spiritists come, or the spirits come, and tell us that the law of God is in the consciousness of man. God is in us, and the proof of this is the relationship of primitive man to God. God is part of man, and he is in us all the time. So most of the time we seek this relationship with God outside of us, when we should seek it within, because he is in us. So religion brings us the direction within its postulates. But it is through religiosity that this relationship narrows down. So there is a difference between religion and religiosity, and we're going to see a little further later. Again, Young, I do not believe in God. I know. So Young said that belief gives way to doubt. I believe today, but tomorrow I may not believe it anymore. But knowing does not give space to doubt. So you have to know, you have to be sure that God exists. And to know God is to live within His proposal, which is not just believe in Him, but know Him. And we have to seek and understand what God is. God is everything that defines our reality. And the psychological meaning of God the Creator is God creates our reality, all of the structures in our world, and guides us. So, if I do not turn myself into my inner world, I do not find God, because He is in me. Hence, the importance of self-discovery. If I do not know myself, how am I going to get to know God? If I do not sink my psyche and my ego and find myself in a process of individuation, how am I going to find God? So, but what is religion for in our lives? What is the point of being part of a religion and entering into its rituals? So when we seek to connect with our deep potentials, when we seek to awaken our soul values, we are in a religious quest. Because like Jung said before, our psyche is religious. So we must deepen this religious quest beyond religion, beyond the rituals that religion offers, beyond the pages of the books. And we must check our relationship with the divine. So we see nowadays a religious ignorance that does not respect the culture and the different ways of thinking of others. Each one of us has the right and the freedom to their own religion, to their own cults, to their own rituals. So when the opinion of the other happens to bother me, it is because I am far from a relationship with the divine. Joanna de Angelis, once again, in her book Personal Triumph, says, religious faith in its need to harmonize the human being is a personal and non-transferable experience that can be awakened by another. Yet, it has to be experienced by the individual. So nobody can experience their relationship for you. You have to do it. So faith is a connection, as a connection with God, is a unique moment of the human creature. We cannot delegate this to others because it's not transferable. So sometimes we lose these moments because we live religion in a collective way. We do not seek contact with what transcends and transforms nature. We simply seek the ascension. We're not going to find ascension if we do not put into practice what we have learned, what we have discovered. And unless we look within ourselves, it's going to be very difficult to find God within us. And then she continues, religious belief can be expressed under two psychological aspects. One that is castrator, prohibitive, generator of guilt, and another that is stimulant, psychotherapeutic, and comforting. So regardless of the faith that we embrace, we live in one way or another of these aspects. So people live in guilt and do not free themselves from the internal issues of the soul. They go from place to place, searching for something, searching for some help, searching for spiritual guidance, searching for knowledge. But that knowledge is only cognitive. They do not acquire the emotional knowledge necessary for them to deepen this relationship with the divinity that is within them. So the psychotherapy that Spiritism proposes is one of the self-encounter. It is only by knowing our potentials, by making a deeper connection with our soul, that we make a deeper contact with our religion, releasing us of the disturbing contents and causing us to approach more and more each time of our own essence. That's the only way. In this, the red book called Psychology and Religions, West and West, from Jung, he says, we might say that the term religion designates the particular attitude of a consciousness transformed by the experience of the numinous. So the numinous is this arousing or elevated feeling of duty, of honor that we have. So the transformation of our consciousness goes through during a religious event. So like Paul of Tarsus, for example, he had a vision of Jesus. And then he said, for I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I do not want to do, this I keep on doing. So at that moment, he had this clear in his mind through the experience that he went through. So many of us were with Christ. We followed him along, but we didn't transform ourselves. The message did not penetrate in us. There are many conflicts and psychological disorders triggered by the totalitarian, excessively dogmatic, imperious religious faith, by inhabiting the values of the personality and blocking the discernment of the psyche. That's again Joanna de Angelis in Personal Triumph. So we see the shadow in religious when cases of pedophilia and sexual scandals come to surface. That's the shadow of religion. So everything that is not seen by the eyes of consciousness becomes a shadow and a part of human nature. Therefore, religion errs when castrating instead of educating us to act consciously, helping us to know everything that which is a part of our essence, embracing our shadows and working on them. If we are excessively castrated and prohibited to do things, we may develop this shadow side or bring out this shadow side and make mistakes. On the other hand, people who do not stand on religion expression when caught by psychopathological phenomena or moral, social, and economic disasters, have less emotional structure, throwing themselves desperately into the deep pit of self-destruction. So what they mean here is that if I have a religion that is too prohibitive and that shows me a punitive God, that is not good for my psychological being, for my psyche, and I can make mistakes. On the other hand, if I have no religion or no faith, independently of religion, if I have no faith, if I am an atheist, I have no bounds by a self-transforming psychological proposal, and I cannot make this bridge with my own soul because I do not believe that there is something more than a material world out there. So science and technology, however advanced, cannot comfort the soul. So God, as psychologically itself says, is all that I dedicate my energy to. So if I dedicate my energy to praying, if I dedicate my energy to get to know myself and transform myself, that is God. But if I dedicate my energy to shopping, watching football, politics, fashion, consumerism, that is my God. So the religious field should be for transformation and not for repression. We must learn to rationalize the lower feelings by bringing them to reason. Instead of the castrating prohibition and irrational dogmatism, which is aggressive to freedom of thought and choice, religion should favor research on the existential foundations, the origins of being and human destiny, along with the equally interested science equipment to deepen the probes of research on the world, man, and life. And that is what is beautiful about Spiritism, because Spiritism is a combination of religion, philosophy, and science. So we are always researching, we are always looking for answer. And Kardec himself said we should always question. We have to make this connection within ourselves and then follow what resonates within us. So what is really going to transform the human being is his religiosity, his relationship with God, not religion itself. When the emotion does not enter, religiosity does not appear, because it's only knowledge without feeling. So it's no use reading everything and having experience as a spiritist, living a formal and institutionalized religion. That's not what we want. We need self-evaluation. We need to look, to notice, to get in touch with our shadows and work on them. Without perceiving as our inferior parts, we cannot work on them. So self-evaluation is needed every step of the way for everything we do. And here are some differences between religion and religiosity. Religion holds the mind. Religiosity releases the consciousness. Religion generates separateness. Religiosity embraces diversity and promotes unity. So everything that creates division is not divine. Religion generates war. How many wars have been fought in the name of God? And religiosity generates peace. Religion creates institutions. Religiosity questions itself. Religion wants you to renounce the world. Religiosity wants you to live in peace with it. Religion promotes worship. Religiosity promotes meditation. So you can listen to your divine essence and listen to God. Religion brings blind faith. Religiosity awakens your spirituality. Religion is organized on the basis of unquestionable dogmas, and religiosity invites you to reason everything, drives you to make decisions and take responsibility of your actions. Religion speaks of sin and guilt. Religiosity helps you to learn with the mistakes without the guilt. Religion is concerned with doing. Religiosity is concerned with being. Religion feeds the ego. Religiosity transcends the ego. So you see the difference and why we shouldn't be attached to certain beliefs and to certain things that hold us back instead of making us move forward and transcend our egos, transcend this reality that we are in. So faith and reason. Faith must be reasoned. Otherwise, my relationship with God will be immature. Religiousness must evolve according to my psychological evolution. So if I do not understand the creation and I do not love, I do not understand the Creator. So what is religiosity per se, according to Joanna de Angelis? Religiousness is an achievement that goes beyond the adoption of a religion. It's a lucid inner realization that is independent of formalism, but which can only be achieved through the courage of man to emerge from the routine to find his own identity. And here we have Buddha was not a Buddhist. Jesus was not a Christian. Krishna was not a Vaishnava. Moses was not an Islamite. They were teachers who taught love. Love was the religion of everyone. And I would like us to keep this image and these words not only in our minds as a cognitive achievement, but in our hearts. And think about that this deep search that we have to do sometimes can be painful, and we may be scared and run away and leave the world of illusions, the world of matter, which is just a mean for us to live the experiences that we need to live. But the more we deepen ourselves and we pass the hurt, then we're going to find not only God, but the beautiful beings that we are. Here is the bibliographic references that I used. And thank you very much for your attention. So, with those words being said, we're going to do our final prayer and then our announcements. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us all of these resources, all of this information that becomes knowledge in our lives, and that we may expand this knowledge to others, but not only that, that we may feel everything, and that with our hearts we can really, really get to know ourselves and find who we truly are, and find you within us, allowing this beautiful energy to expand more and more to the highest levels of creation, bounding us so that we can achieve everything that we came for on this earth. May you, Lord, bless our week, protect us and our families, and be with us today and always. Amen. A few reminders. So, subscribe to BSS on YouTube. Give your like to us on Facebook. That helps us. So, online study group in English, Tuesdays evenings at 8 o'clock p.m. Meeting on Zoom. We have a yard sale, shop online, amazing items. Please check them out. And this Saturday, February? No. Is that the right date? No. Okay. All right. So I guess this is it. Thank you so much for your audience, your attention. May God bless you. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.